Hey everybody, how y'all doing? As you've seen with my other videos, I've had plenty of other stuff come up that I didn't count on. But we're past that now, so we're hopefully gonna be left alone the rest of the day. Getting ready now to take the oil pan off. Yeah, I wanted to have this apart yesterday, but too many things came up for me. And just couldn't get to it yesterday. This, that, and everything else. And well, what the heck? Can I read a socket today? 7/16. Really? Okay. Oh man, I don't know. Oh, I did. I was gonna say. Oh yeah, that's those other bolts. There we go. Now we're cooking with peanut oil. I was gonna say, I know I put this on here. And I know we had issues with this oil pan last year, so... Oh, come on. There we go. I'm going to get the oil pan off this. I got to find something to keep the lifters in order. This is one time that I am keeping lifters in order. Just because we need to. Not sure what's going on. Every muscle, every joint on my body just is aching bad. But anyway, I'm going to get the oil pan off this thing while all the oil's drained down. Then get the lifters in order. And then we can roll this baby upside down and pop out number 2 cylinder and see what's going on. So, alright, I'll be back. Okay, got the oil pan off. Not too bad of a mess, but still a little bit of a mess. But yeah, oil pan. I had that one reusable Velcro in there. Oil pan wise, it was sealed tight. He did say though, however, the rear main started leaking. But after finding out what we found out what's wrong with the cylinder number 2, well, we're going to find out what's wrong with the cylinder number 2. I haven't found out yet. There we go. We want to find out what's going on with that. live, so nobody can say, oh, you changed something. I want to know just as much as you guys what happened to cylinder number 2. So, I mean, everything down here on the bottom end looks great. There's no funkiness, nothing. So, those rods that I put in this, these are the 6-inch rods. They look very, very good. So, set that there. Okay, here we go. Don't look like rod doesn't show any weird wear. Let me get myself in the position to catch it because we don't want to drop it. Really? I don't want you dropping. Come on, play nice here. And I am very happy with what I see so far. Okay, I just sat down. Let's see. There's the bearing unwiped. That is very, very nice. That is very, very nice. No. There has not been any dirt through that motor. That is very, very nice. I am, oh, so pleased with that. Rods look good. See how it fits in. Yeah, bearings don't have their snap fit right now, which, okay, that's not what we're worried about. Well, we're worried about that, but we're not worried. Okay, I have not touched the rings. Guess what? You want to know why number 2 lost compression? Look at right there. How did they spin to the point to line themselves up? Cylinder number 2 is the only one that let air into the crankcase, and you guys just seen it. I did this live right here in this video. Number 2, for some reason, had spun and lined up the rings. See that? They are lined up high. And you seen my hands, they were nowhere near that. It just come out of the block. And that is so weird that done that. I don't understand how that did that. Wow, that is, one of these rings managed to travel 180 degrees around and line up and lost compression. That's a first. That is a first for me. Huh. So yeah, the bearing, let's see. Wow, that really's got me baffled on how that did that. Bearings look really, really good. But yeah, I think I'm going to go to a little bit stronger bearing because, well, then again, this had 11 nights on it and 5 hours of dyno time, so I'm going to improve the bearings too. We're just going to go a step higher. I mean, these were Federal Moguls. standard, so crank just looks just wonderful. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. The only thing I'm not happy on is the fact that the bearings have changed shape a little. But that's what happens when you rod stuff, and I don't understand why. Wow. What the heck? I didn't do anything to the... There, I was going to say it didn't hit anything on the nut. Nut didn't want to go on at first. It just wasn't. But no weird wear, no scores. It's just a stupid compression. The top two rings got lined up somehow. Okay, I gotta get a place to keep going. God, I got a mess on the floor. Yes, cat, I know the weather's changing. You're acting strange. Wow, that's a first for me on any of my motors to have the rings do that. Wow. And that's the only cylinder, like I said, when I did the leak down test, that was the only cylinder I heard air going in on, and that's because the rings lined up. Cat, what are you doing? Alright, well, I'm going to get my tray set up on something so I can lay these out and keep them in order. But knowing that this is the last area to get oil, and that's good. That there's no damage done to the crankshaft. None. So, alright. Okay, I got all the pistons and rods out, and I'm a little confused here. 3 pistons out of the 8, so that means 5 of them. Miraculously, I can go back and watch the video when we put this thing together. I know when I put my rings in, they're 180 degrees from one another, the ends. 3 pistons were still clocked just like when I put them in. The rest of them almost lined themselves up. 2 or 3 of them were perfectly lined up, so that's letting compression slip by. And the others were getting close to being lined up, close enough that they would have started losing compression too. Out of all the motors I've ever tore down, this is the first one I've ever seen rings rotate that much in the cylinders. It's kind of got me left here sitting scratching my head on why. And this stupid harmonic's got, somebody's drilled it out for coarse thread bolts. I got to find something to pull that off so I can get the timing cover off and the chain. Then we'll pop the crank out. But the crank is looking great. Whatever he's using for a filter on this, in my assembly of this motor, there is no trash in any bearings. There's no scratches, no marks on the crankshaft. So cleanliness pays off, and yes, I'm real happy on how this is all looking inside here. So yeah, anyway, yeah, I just there's a few things I'm like, don't make any sense. And those scat rods that I put in this are looking great. I mean, I've tore down other race motor stuff, and the stuff looks just like holy Batman. So yeah, So then I got to see why the rear main started leaking or where that leak was coming from. Because when I pulled the pan gasket off, it was absolutely bone dry all the way around. So I'm happy. Now, I don't know where the oil was that was left in the motor, but I had a whole bunch of it run out on the floor, so I got a little bit of a mess. But I'm very tickled with what I found in the bottom end, except for the rings. But those pistons, that protective coating on there is barely got any wear to it, so it tells you the cylinders are nice and straight and true. And there's, yeah. So I don't know if I got to upgrade his rings or what I'm going to have to do. And there again, I'm starting to split hairs. What I mean by splitting hairs is I'm starting to look into the little itty bitty details more. I mean, that's the sad thing for racing. There's always little itty bitty pieces you can do here and there, and it makes a world of difference on everything else. I'm going to show you something too with the pistons when we get to those. Those have got the C retainers. I think I want to throw those C retainers away and go to a true spiral lock on them. Because I know when I put those on, I specified in the installation of those pistons that that gap is supposed to be down, because if it's sideways and you're thrusting it up, they say if those are not where the gap is down and you got that turret sideways, that actually could collapse and pop out of there and let your wrist pin out. And by God, some of those clips have even rotated. So I think I will take them out and convert it over to a true spiral lock. That isn't going to come out. Not saying that they can't, because it's man-made, it can and will fail. But those spiral locks, yes, they're blankety blank to put in. The tool that they invented to put them in easily is stupidly priced for as simple as it is. And that's one I won't ever use. I mean, unless I really get to doing some big dollar motors, but I don't know. So I gotta find some different bolts, change out this harmonic balance, get this harmonic balancer off, get the timing cover off, chain off. I mean, the heads were a manufactured, bought piece for giving troubles. The bottom end is my doing, my telling the machinist what to do and listen to his suggestions. And the bottom end is great, except for why did those rings rotate so much? That's the big question right now. I don't get why they rolled around like that. But that blue oil pan gasket, I love that. I like that. It's going to get another one. So, and it's also getting a new oil pan too, because we had trouble with that oil pan last year. Oh my gosh, did we? Alright, I'll get the harmonic balancer off and we'll get the cam out, inspect that, inspect the cam bearings. Since the rod bearings look this good, I don't expect to find any trash in the mains or the cam bearings. And unfortunately, the cam bearings are going to have to be replaced again, because this is going to be cleaned and it's going to be decked. But before it goes up, I think all I'm going to do is bury brush it this time, because we don't want to hone it anymore. We don't want to get any looser. We just need to take the glazing off the cylinder walls so the new rings we put in can seal. And that'll be the other thing too. I'm going to take the rings off, check the end gaps, see if they grew, how much they grew. We kind of know a timeline. If they grew too much, then that tells me the finish that was on the cylinder walls was a little too aggressive. But there's no No signs of any metal in the oil pan, in the bearings, nothing. It's very, very, very happy with that. So yeah, I mean, those pistons, other than being dirty on the top, almost look like I just took them out of the box. I'm happy with those. So, alright, well, like I said, we'll get the harmonic balancer off. Well, the timing chain looks really good. It's still usable. But since this is going to be another new motor, probably won't. Cam button did its job. Barely see where it... Let's see. Just barely touched the cover, so that was doing its job. So yeah, that harmonic balancer, we're getting a different one. It didn't fit the crank as tight. I was actually able to take it off with my 3/8 here. It's kind of strange that did that. But, and had to use head bolts to mount my puller. I couldn't remember for the life of me on how I did it last year. And I finally, well, yeah, that'll work. So, all right, well, I'm going to get the chain off and get the cam out and take a look at those cam bearings and get the crank out, and then this thing's ready to go to the machine shop. Okay, let's do this together. Where the heck did that go? Okay, there we go. And since we're going to end up redoing this, I'm not too worried about the cam bearings anymore. So. Really? Oh, goodness. That's where you stand. This cam don't even look like it's been run. All you guys that were calling for flat lobes or bad break-in, there is nothing wrong with that camshaft. That's good. And oh, those cam bearings just look like they I put them in. So yeah, we're really good to go. But alright, I want to get my impact driver. I know there's no way. I'm just tickled with those cam bearings. Oh God, yeah. Yep, other than the marks I just put on the second one, they look just like the day I put them in. So yeah, all you guys saying that I've been installing cam bearings wrong, well, yeah, whatever. So I am very, 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 very happy with what we've found so far. I'm happy, but I'm not happy. I mean, there's no signs of any real major failures that was coming up with this motor. It just, yeah, I guess I see where my buddy out east says I really need to get to where I'm doing my own head work. I could go to the machine shop, have them do the milling if it needs and that, but as for everything else, yeah. So, I'll go get the, let's see how that spins pretty good for the thick oil that's in there, that's cold. That's spinning really, really good. And this is a standard 350 steel crank that's in this. And I don't even think it needs to be polished. Just wash it and clean it, and it's ready to go again. So I for the most part am very happy with how it's showing it's wearing. Like I said, I'm going to probably upgrade the rod bearings and probably the mains to a little more of a race bearing. And we'll just continue to go. I mean, this is kind of... So yeah, the biggest weak link in this motor right now is those stupid heads. And I've looked into the rules. If we do up a factory original set, they've got you limited, where with these they did give you a little bit better runners, but if you go with the factories, then you don't have as good as runners, and you can't port them. These rules are set against you. They're not to help you, they're against you. But yeah, so yeah, okay, well, like I said, we'll get the crank out, inspect those bearings. Since there's no damage on the rods, I don't expect to find any on the mains, because that all comes from the same spot. Just really wow. So, alright. You know, tearing down motors all these years like I have and that, there comes a time during the tear down that just brings back a flood of memories. And I don't know why it is, but it's around the main bolts. You crack the main bolts loose, and there's just a smell coming off these bolts that just it's, yeah, I know. Did he just say he's sniffing bolts? Yes, I did. Okay, there's the front main. Very minute little, but the crank is smooth. So I know why that's all like that. That's that ARP stuff. Yeah, there's that ARP stuff. That'll get all over. So yeah, there's just a aroma that comes off this that takes me back. You guys are keeping those in track for me, right? In order. Oh, this crank just... Now let's see what's going on here. I don't see why the rear main I'll have to compare it to a new one. Just don't like these new rear mains seals. I mean, it don't look like it was really wet. No! And it's not coming out between, so I don't know why. But yeah, okay. That's crankshaft looks great. Whew. All that graphite sure makes a weird looking mess. There's the number 4 main. That's looking really, really good. Mains are nice and tight yet. Let's see. Just breaking through the protective layer they manufacture this stuff with, the bearings with. So, wow, that really looks good. And the rear seal's installed correctly, but they've redesigned them from what I was used to, so I don't know if I like the new design or what. Oh my God, those cam bearings just are phenomenal. Even though I got a little couple of marks on the second one now, those look like I just took them out of the box. I mean, I am oh, how do I say this? I'm happy to see this motor is in the shape it is for what it's been through. It needed to go longer, yes, but yeah, there's just nothing to show that it was headed for a short life by any means. It's so anyway. Yeah, I am just doing this so my luck I don't knock them all down. So yeah, I mean, okay, these are King mains. I don't know why they had Federal Mogul rods. Oh, no? They shouldn't. I don't know. So yeah, these are King main bearings. Yep, they were standard. So the King's holding up. Very nice. I mean, just barely any. Wow. I am very happy. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of the tear down and inspection. I guess the only questions I got now is how and why did the rings rotate so much, and what the heck's going on with these heads. Yep, we'll get this all stripped down, berry brushed, and yeah. So yeah, so having my air filter in the shop, and then spending the day vacuuming and cleaning the shop in here, and running that filter for the 2 days prior to start assembly, pays off. And then I try and keep the traffic down to a minimum in here. So that all works. I mean, that filter just cleans the air, and by the looks of this, everything, I mean, there's no dirt, no nothing, and that's why I wash these blocks and bristle brush them and everything to make sure nothing gets in there. So, and that crankshaft, I don't even know if it needs polished. There's nothing on it. There's no, it's just really amazing that. So, I will suggest, I mean, the main bearings look fine, but I am going to suggest new main bolts, and we're doing new head bolts no matter what. New head bolts, new head gaskets, surface the block. More likely, I got to CC the heads yet. I got to figure out, get that done, and get those CC'd. Make sure they are what they're supposed to be, and if they're not, then we can shave those to get them true again, so we can use them again. But because in the IMCA rules, basically, they're a one-shot use, and for that kind of money, no, I'm going to reuse them. Yeah. I guess even if you didn't reuse them in your race car, I mean, yeah, but you know what I'm saying. So, I guess the next step is get this off to the machine shop. Everything cleaned, washed up, and ready to go back in together. So that cam's wearing great. I'm going to wash it and inspect it one more time, but just looking at what we see now, it's barely even got the break-in stuff off it. Thus, that's why I've kept the lifters in order, so they go right back on the same lobes they come off of this time. I do have a thought, though, why I've got the 383 upside down, and this does look like it's got a smaller base circle to it. It's a Howard's cam, that's all I'll say. I will not say the part number, but it is a Howard's cam. I'm going to stick that in the 383 and see, and then hook up the timing chain in that and see if it clears the rods. If it is, I don't know what I gotta do. No way about it. It's the 383 is going to be an expensive one to, whether it's a cam or have to tear it down and go ahead and the edges of rods, but I guess. So I get this done, the 383 done. I think I'm going to get on my 377 build, because I'm getting, when I built my 377 before, I didn't have to clearance anything, because it's basically a 350 with oversized pistons is all it is. But I've had other guys tell me when they did their 377 with their cams, and I put a pretty wild cam in my 377, I didn't have to clearance anything, so I'm like, why? But the 406, I did some reading up on that. The 406, I probably will have to clearance the rods to that, or buy some stroker rods that have already been yeah. So you definitely got to think ahead and plan your parts out and that, and take your time, as I do have another 350, like I said, the twin to this motor, but the differences between that is it's 60 over with a 5.7 rod, where this was 40 over with a 6-inch rod. Yeah. I'd almost like to go ahead and dyno. Yeah, I just. And also, I'm going to say one other thing too. There was a couple of comments that I didn't care for. Don't start thinking you know what I'm doing for business with these motors and that. Don't assume that I'm getting ripped off or anything. That kind of really rub me raw. No. This person and I are getting along. Jesus, getting along just fine. And yes, race motors. There is no guarantees on race motors. But the nice thing is, the guy brought it back to me to let me tear it down and inspect it and see what the heck's going on. And that, so just don't say stuff like that, because you don't know what's going on. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it at. So anyway, y'all take care, and we'll see you later. Have a good one.